Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the weekly Shakeout of the Road to London Paula's Run Club with me, Paula Radcliffe.
And me, Christopher Thompson.
And we have a lot, so apologies if we aren't quite getting to yours. We will get to them, we promise. We are working our way through them. Are you going to kick off this week with a WhatsApp one, Thommo?
Yes. No, there is so many, which is really flattering, and we wish that we could fit everyone in every week. But right, so this one comes in from Ruth. Hi, Paula and Thommo. Thanks for your Road to London series. You're accompanying on my runs, and the advice is helpful, inspiring. Thank you very much. I'm running London for the third time this year. It's 8 years since I have run this distance, so I'm trying to ensure I give myself the best chance of running it well, which for me is enjoying the marathon and running it without injury before, during and after. That's a good aim, I would say.
Absolutely.
I'm 57 and have been taking Wild Nutrition Magnesium for several months now. 2 tablets a day, but I'm wondering if I should be increasing the amount I take as I increase my distances. I am week 10 of 22-week program and we'll be running 30 miles this weekend. For context, in relation to where I am in training miles. Many thanks, Ruth. Paula.
Well, first of all, I think it's good that you are taking that magnesium. It's a little bit hard to gauge from the tablets rather than the actual dosage of magnesium. But I think it is one of those things that the more stresses you have in life, whether it's work stresses, training stresses, sleeping, young children, menopausal, hormonal stresses, all of those things can come into it. So if you are starting to feel like you maybe need a little bit more boost, I would advise perhaps upping that dosage a little bit gradually. You just need to watch out for the gastrointestinal side effects of too much magnesium. But it sounds like you're away from that at the moment. The other thing to be aware of is the time of day that you take magnesium. I don't know about you, Tom, but I was always told to take it in the evening. You can take it in the morning, but you get the best benefit, if you like, from it in the evening because you get a little bit more absorption and it helps you with quality of sleep overnight. So not sure when you are taking that, Ruth, but perhaps look at increasing certainly the nighttime dosage of the magnesium that you're taking.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think to note as well, Wild Nutrition, who have been a very a supportive partner of ours with offers, and they do have those nutritional helpers that are directly with them that could potentially help advise and personalise things to help you as well. So nothing more to add from my point of view, but certainly, yeah, I think it's something to potentially explore.
Right, and the next one, also on the WhatsApps, comes in from Georgia. Hi, Paula and Thommo. Apologies if this has been asked and I've missed it, but I wonder about your exact steps after a long run, i.e. beyond your half marathon distance. Being a woman, I'm specifically interested in Paula's approach and whether this changes throughout the cycle. I'm aware that women have a smaller window to eat than men, but I'm also aware of the need to shower, especially on cold, wet days, to warm up and to stretch. It's also been suggested that I should put my legs up against a wall. What sort of order should I do this in? Also, what sort of foods do you recommend eating immediately after a long run? I'm running my first marathon in Barcelona in March. Hopefully this gets to you in time. And I'm struggling with the long run recovery, the result of which is that I'm not starting my next week's program until Thursday and then training for a few days consecutively. I find that I'm particularly whacked the week before and of my period. Any pointers at all to help improve my recovery would be greatly received. ChatGPT will only get you so far. Best wishes, Georgia. Yeah, ChatGPT might help a little bit, but usually there is a bit more running documented, what do we call it? Just advice out there that will help with that. Do you want to add anything, Thommo, before I answer on the female side of it?
No, you go, because I mean, it completely fair enough. She obviously would appreciate your angle a little bit more from the female aspect of things. So no, please do.
Well, I think they're both actually. I've learned something there. I didn't know that women had a smaller window than men to eat afterwards. I did know that kind of it was 20 to 30 minutes, and the closer you were to inside the 20 minutes, the better it was for recovery. So a couple of things. First off, Georgia, I would say have your recovery snacks or drinks ready as soon as you come in the door, so you can almost double hit it with a handful of nuts, a banana, a quick energy drink while you're stretching, and then get in the shower. Or if you are freezing cold and wet, as let's face it, probably lots of us are coming in from runs at the moment, I would actually jump into a warm shower first, and then you will still be warm coming out of that to stretch. So just throw something dry on, be able to stretch and kind of double up on the stretch and refueling at the same time, even if it is some kind of liquid refueling that just helps to top it up long enough to enable you to do those other things and then get a good meal into you as soon as you can. And if that meal can, particularly that week before your period, and just the first few days of it, if you can make sure that that immediate post-race meal does include a good amount of protein. If you're not vegetarian, kind of red meat. If you are vegetarian, the iron-rich proteins, just to kind of really help to boost your body up for the red blood cells that you probably are going to lose over that period, and also to avoid the kind of sugar hit pitfalls that can just make you feel a little bit more sluggish and feels like you want it, but it doesn't really help. The exception being chocolate. I'm always allowed chocolate.
There you go. The only thing I would add to this is quite often my recovery from a long run, not always, but quite often mirrored the state in which I went into the long run. So the recovery kind of drinks and stuff that you do in the windows afterwards are, yes, important, and if you don't get that right, can have an issue. But if I've gone into the long run particularly drained for whatever reason, I haven't eaten enough in those 2 days before, that can put an added stress on the long run than what the long run just looks. So if you've run for 2 hours, but in reality your body might have been under stress that is a lot more than just a 2-hour run. So I would think about the 2 days before your long run as much as I would about that window afterwards, because it can be a bit of both, would be my advice.
And there is that trade-off, isn't there, Tom? Sometimes doing a hard workout the day before the long run can give you that training benefit, but as you say, then you kind of do need to accept that the recovery process out of that is going to be a bit longer. And certainly it does look from what Georgia said that if she's not starting the next program until Thursday, presumably has finished the long run or whatever on the Sunday, that is concertinaing it in a little bit. So perhaps a little bit of benefit towards getting out for a run, even if it is a slower, harder one, earlier, and using it as part of the recovery process. Building in a cross training one might help as well. The legs up against the wall kind of does help. Also an easy cycle, a swim, a very easy aqua jogging, all of those things can also help to flush out the legs, or book yourself a massage. I kind of advise they might be a bit more helpful than legs up against the wall, because that can sometimes just cause issues with lower back if you're not perfectly straight and aligned when you're doing that, particularly if you're fatigued going into it. I think the more you get on top of this now, the better it's going to look for Barcelona and coming out of Barcelona as well. And I think you raise a really good point with the fueling, Thommo.
Yeah, and again, the thing that's always hard with these things is sometimes, if depending on your job requirement, if you're sat at a desk a lot, like that can perceivably make your legs feel like they're not recovering if you do a long run and then you spend 2 days where you have to sit at a desk because that's just the way the job is, or even equally the opposite of you're standing on your feet a lot if you've got a job that's on your feet all day. These things can have an impact because actually that balance between movement and rest is kind of a fine line. So again, it goes back to the talking about where best to put a long run around work demands and other things to think about. So maybe depending on how your week is, maybe there's a thought process that putting it in a slightly different time of the week might help, but I don't know. I don't know your routine, but yeah good luck.
Okay,
right, am I doing tomorrow next?
You can do.
Yes. Hi, I have a question for the Shakeout episode following the discussion on pelvic floor with the Georgie episode, which was a fantastic episode, by the way. And the pelvic floor and gut episode. I suffer from slack bladder. When I run, my bladder moves too much in me and the irritation causes blood in the urine. I've had investigations throughout other things. Also, I really bloat and swell whenever I run, and it's worse when I run hard or long in the heat. Is there anything I can do to minimise these things? I'm tired of seeing photos of me during events where I look like Mr. Blobby. Loving the series. Thanks, Tamara Kennedy.
Well, first of all, Tamara, I'm glad that you have got things checked out and you have an explanation for the blood in the urine, because if it is that is happening to anyone, you do need to get checked out. It's an experience I've only really had when I was pregnant, more from the kind of baby bouncing on the bladder, and causing the same kind of bruising. I guess it is not very comfortable, to say the least. So I'd like to find a way to work through this for you, Tamara. If anybody listening has got any solutions, the one that comes to mind for me immediately is electrolyte balance. The more your kind of bladder is getting thrown around, the pH inside your bladder is perhaps getting a little bit thrown off as well, which will be more uncomfortable. And I think trying to conversely kind of work the bladder efficiently, so make it easy for the bladder to do its work, and by that I mean just kind of getting the electrolytes balance really good, so you're not drinking straight water, and the fluid that you are getting in is getting as much as possible into your system where it's needed, rather than being held in the bladder. That'll help. I'm sure you're doing all the obvious things like emptying the bladder immediately before races, and just trying to keep that as comfortable as possible. Pelvic floor, yeah, I think we had all of that advice, and so that will help you there. I guess that's the biggest thing that I can come up with there, Tom. It is the electrolyte balance and seeing if that helps with the bloating, because usually a little bit of that water retention tends to be just from drinking straight water, and perhaps check out the type of sweater that you are, because it may be that you've got too high of a sodium intake in whatever you are using for electrolytes, and just kind of find one of the gentler balanced electrolytes. There are a number on the market.
Yeah, I mean, again, being totally honest, I've not come across this before. So I would be really interested if anyone listening has got
Yeah.
advice, and they can write in and we can forward on and share, because I think things like this are, clearly something that is not good. And hopefully there are solutions to make a lot easier. So I would love to hear from people to write in and say, if they've had this experience of this, or things that can be done to help Tamara and make things a little bit easier. But yeah,
good luck with that one tomorrow. And as Thomas said, please write in if you have any solutions for that one. Next one comes in from Sean. Hi, Paula and Thommo. I'd like to ask a question, please. Firstly, I love the podcast. I'm learning so much, and I'm grateful, and to your guests for everything that they bring. So thank you, guests. It's a huge motivation and a great alternative to the usual music tracks repeating over and over. As most people are, I'm going into my 5th week of official marathon training. It's my first marathon, and I've never been more excited about anything. Well, maybe my wedding day. Treading is going well, a little bit of leg fatigue, but I'm getting plenty of rest, and also booked myself a sports massage every couple of weeks up until the big day. The last few weeks, I'm struggling to keep my heart rate inside of zone 2. I'm drifting into zone 3, only by about 10 beats per minute, and to be honest, I still feel okay. However, I'm worried whether that will affect me when I get to the 18-mile marker. Zone 2 ends at 140 beats for me. I'm glad he said for me, because my first question was going to be, had it assessed for him personally. I'm up to 25 kilometers at the moment. To bring it back into zone 2, I have to practically walk. I'm looking for advice online, and everyone says something different. Looking for advice online is a little bit like standing in a room with 20 people all shouting at you at the same time. I try to run on how it feels and try to ignore the whole zone thing up to a point. I'm just worried how it will affect me further into the marathon. This is my first one ever, and I want to do as well as possible. Thanks, from Sean.
yeah, it's always a tricky one, and I think like the only thing you have to bear in mind when it comes to heart rate, there's this thing called drift, and that is the kind of, they are going to be things like core temperature going up, fatigue, or fueling, or the type of fuel. There's going to be a few things that are going to drift you over, and it's not necessarily about your effort, and it's not necessarily about the fact you can't handle things. It's just that drifting effect of fatigue in other areas, because the body is not just about your legs getting tired. There are other things going on in the body that's going to contribute to potentially slowing down or fatigue buildup. So I think with this, that you're kind of almost describing the whole idea of training, of how you try and build resilience and tolerance to go further in those zones. So I think I wouldn't, certainly going over by a little bit is not an issue, but spending a bit of time kind of flirting with that edge of going over, bringing it down, coming over, is all part of the game. It's all part of how you build the ability to do it, because like I say, there's certain things that you're not necessarily going to get. So when you say I feel okay, that's the most
That's
important
good.
thing you can
Yeah.
go off, because that's the thing that those messages to your brain are telling you I'm okay. If those messages to your brain were panicking a bit, then you probably need to listen or look at your heart rate a bit slightly differently. But the fact it's not is telling you that great, that you're still hopefully getting that training effect, and being slightly over, you're still going to get. By being 10 beats over, you're still getting the training effect for the zone you want. You just don't want to spend too long going over and bringing it back down. I hope I'm explaining myself, but this is
Yeah.
very, very natural training headache that everyone faces.
And I think, like you said, Tom, I'm really encouraged by the fact that Sean does say he likes to run to feel. And you're absolutely right. If you feel okay, don't allow the watch to panic you, because that stress, psychological stress, can also raise your heart rate. So if you're looking at it and kind of getting a little bit on edge because it's going closer to a zone that you're not supposed to step over, try and relax a little bit. Maybe turn it around the other way. You can also set a lot of devices to warn you if it gets dangerously high, or if it's going much too high. Maybe set it just to vibrate on that, and try and not look at it too much. Use it more of a guide after your runs to see how that run was, and as you said, how your training's progressing, and see if that helps. But the biggest advice would be keep doing what you're doing. Definitely keep that enthusiasm, and try and tune into how you feel rather than exactly what the watch is telling you. So if it feels like it's too much, then is the time to back off, rather than just because the watch is saying that it's a little bit too high.
Absolutely, and good luck. And hopefully, we were better than the 20 people all shouting,
Yeah, shouting in the room. Go on
shouting
then.
in the room at you.
You got one from Rebecca.
Hi there, love listening to the pod and all the tips, tricks and inspiration you both provide. Thank you very much. I'm currently training for the Christchurch Marathon in New Zealand in April. The course is essentially 4 times around the same 10k course. This is my second marathon. The last was Hawke's Bay, New Zealand. Both marathons are on flat, easy trails, but any tips, suggestions to get through the mental toughness of doing 4 times around the 10k loop? My last marathon, I really struggled in the last 5k, and that course was a point to point. Any advice is appreciated. I feel the marathon is going to be as mentally challenging as it will be physically challenging. Thank you, Rebecca.
Well, first off, Rebecca, I think just accept, unfortunately, the last 5k of the marathon is hard for absolutely everyone. And you mentioned the fact that you struggled in your last marathon with that, but you did it and you came through it. And I think that is the strongest pointer for the next one. You know that when it got tough and it got hard, you did manage to work your way through that. And well, first of all, these courses sound great. I actually love the sound of these flat, easy, nice trails out there in New Zealand. I'm sure it is a great course for both of them. And I would embrace the benefits of a lap course rather than worrying about whether it's going to become mentally tough, because yes, it is repetitive, but on the other hand, you get to learn the parts of the course that you like and the parts of the course that you might have to just work a little bit harder on. And it's kind of a nice way to gauge your effort, so you can kind of take the first lap as a learning experience. Right, I'm going to find the real layout of this course. You might be able to drive around it beforehand, but you won't probably be able to run on it beforehand. So you'll actually learn the parts that you like the most, and then when it gets tough, as you get into that, particularly the third and the fourth lap, you can look forward to those little segments on that loop that you've actually enjoyed on the previous two. And you can be mentally ready for the tougher sections as well. So kind of try and flip it on its head, as with anything that you find hard, and make it into a bit of a game and a bit of a positive rather than a negative.
I couldn't agree more. I love lap courses for those reasons, because it takes away the unexpected of what's to come. Because you can know a course, but the variable of weather, for instance, when is the wind gonna be in your face, or what's gonna happen when I turn this corner? The fact you're on a 10k loop is exactly spot on. You can kind of feel the rhythm of the loop, know when you can run hard, and if it's particularly windy, just relax, because when you go around the next corner it's going to be ease off because you've already done it once. So learning the loop is going to be very powerful to how you massage your effort. So I couldn't agree with you more on that one. It's for me, I'd take a lap course all day. My Kew Gardens, I think it was what was it, 13 laps we did.
Wow.
around Kew Gardens
That is a
doing the
lot. I'm not sure
trials.
I would like that many, but yeah, four
Oh,
is
I
it's
loved
okay.
it.
It's easier for the
Loved it.
organisers, and it does mean that you know that all of the refreshment stations as well will be mapped
Yes.
out. Things like if you need to
Yes.
stop for a toilet, you know where those are
Yeah.
on the loop by the final one. So all of those things can help with it. Right, on to the emailed in questions. I'm actually going to bump one up the queue a little bit now, just because Tina from Yorkshire is getting ready for the Tokyo Marathon, which is coming up. So I'm keen that hers is maybe a little bit time sensitive. She says, "Hi, Paula and Chris. I'm currently training for Tokyo Marathon. It will be my 6th star and my 11th marathon. Congratulations." I wasn't expecting to be lucky enough to get a ballot place in Tokyo, so I also applied for and was successful in getting a good for age at the London Marathon, which is 8 weeks after Tokyo. My question is, what should my training look like between these races? I'm touring Japan for a week after Tokyo, so plan to do lots of walking and maybe some swimming for the first week in order to recover from the physical and mental fatigue. How do I then crank up my training whilst giving my chance to taper again prior to London without risking injury? I'm 54 years old. I know Paula's 2025 Tokyo Boston races had a similar number of weeks between the two events. Any hints and tips are much appreciated. From Tina.
I mean, I think 8 weeks is a good amount of time
Yeah.
actually, between the two. And I would say 8 weeks gives you enough time to actually give yourself a good reset of a couple of weeks, because again, it goes back to the mindset of when you're in a marathon build up, is sometimes there's a time and a place for building fitness and there's a time and a place for maintaining. And once you've run a marathon, you've got a level of fitness there that you're trying to maintain rather than add to. And so the recovery process, I would set in your mind, I would see it as, I just need to consolidate and allow my body to kind of absorb that race and absorb that training for a couple of weeks. And then you've still got a good 4 week block of building back up the tolerance before you can back off another 2 weeks. And I would say, if you see it as almost a training of a big reduction in training up to a peak and then back down again, rather than lots of mini waves. I'm doing this in front of the camera and I'm saying it out loud, but hopefully that makes sense. You can almost see the 8 weeks of one kind of upside down or an N shape of training, of volume and down, and 8 weeks is a nice volume of time to do that, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a nice situation to be in, Tina. It's a little bit different so when I did it last time, Boston was going to be my 6th star. So I used Tokyo as a little bit of kind of a long run just to kind of ease myself back into it. Made some mistakes with shoes and things like that. Because this is your 6th star, I want you to have the best experience and kind of to feel really good and to enjoy that. So I would kind of make this your focal point. And then, as she has planned in, recovery afterwards is really vital. It's great that you're staying out there, because I think it is, with the jet lag for Tokyo, it is worth taking that extra time to give yourself time to get over it, to feel good on race day, and then to enjoy some of the city and the country afterwards as well. Walking around is always good, a little bit of swimming, nothing structured, just what you feel like doing, and let your body recover. Try out lots of foods, kind of really fuel your body very well afterwards. It's almost like, I always remember, after your first marathon, you're almost like eating for a week afterwards, because you've built up so much energy, or burnt off so much energy in that race, that you can really take advantage of that. And similarly, after marathons, you can do that. So concentrate on the recovery, and you will have plenty of time to do not a full ramp, as you were saying, Tom, it's just that mini one, and then time to come back down again. And the euphoria and the kudos of being a 6-star will carry you into London with a little bit of happy memories from Tokyo as well. So very best of luck to you, Tina. Congratulations, and perhaps let us know how you get on.
Perfect. Right. This comes in from Karen. Hi, Paula. Loving your podcast. Thank you very much. I would love to hear your experience and advice on your physio and rehab following your foot surgery. I was supposed to be doing Manchester Marathon this April, first ever marathon, but have had to withdraw, and I'm currently sat here 2 days post bunion and metatarsal surgery, in agony and wondering if I will ever run again. What would you recommend for recovery? What physio and rehab exercises do you did you do, and when? Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Thank you, Karen. Paula.
All right. Well, quickly, Karen, I mean, you have had quite a big surgery. So the biggest thing is really to kind of go by feel a little bit in terms of what it feels like you're able to do. After I had my bunion and metatarsal surgery, I had a number of rods sticking out the end of my foot, which certainly limited the amount of things that you can get back into doing while you've still got those in there. I'm not sure how yours is in that respect. So I did find that I got a knee scooter, which was one of the best investments that I got in terms of you could kneel on the scooter and push with the other leg. And I could get around quite a lot. I could kind of build up a few endorphins and kind of feel like I was doing a bit of exercise while still allowing my foot to recover and be able to carry on with a bit of normal life, which helps. Then the thing that you can build into, if you're able to, is on a stationary bike, and kind of help to do that without putting any stress through the toes. Then it will be a gradual kind of recovery process. Walking, pole walking is a good one. And then when you do feel able to, and everybody is a little bit different, but I would advise starting back with small bits of running. So I went into kind of a minute on, 4 minutes walk, a minute on, 4 minutes walk, and then just gradually built up the length that I was running and decreased the length that I was walking, until I was kind of meeting in the middle and able to do an easy 20 to 30 minute run, and put in plenty of recovery. And don't be afraid to keep up the cardio in a cross-training manner. When you can get into the pool, and you can use things like the stationary bike as well in terms of kind of just building up a bit of cardio, satisfying your brain a little bit, and not slowing down the recovery of your feet. But good that you've got it done, Karen, and good luck in the recovery process. Quick time for the honours board, Thommo.
Yes.
Actually, we do have a photo to add in from the audience interaction. And that will be a shout out. This comes in from Sarah, but she wants to nominate Joe Ribbons. Now, we can't actually, unless you can see the number on the bibs.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Joe. Is Joe in the middle? Joanne's in the middle. Okay,
yes.
So it's Joanne who's nominated, or Joe who's nominated for the honours board. She has had a hellish couple of weeks whereby she's had illness and been involved in a serious car accident. Her fitness fell by the wayside for a bit, having had to recover from the crash. She had originally wanted to go sub 1 hour at Chichester 10K, but on race day, her desire was just to finish. My friend and I from Pound Hill Pounders ran with her and coaxed her over the finish line at just about 1 hour and 4 minutes. She wasn't that far off. It has to be one of my funnest races, as we supported each other all the way around, and it was so nice to cross the finish line together as a team. My friend and I are currently training for London Marathon, but decided to run with our amazing friend in order to support her and encourage her. Girl power all the way. And that comes in from Sarah, who's on the picture as well. And Joe Ribbons, congratulations. You're on the honours board.
Do you know what? Those finish line photos really capture the emotion, didn't they?
Yeah.
You can sort of like read the emotion in all their faces. It's a really nice photo that we need to post that with everything. It's lovely. Hi, Paula and Thommo. I was hoping to give a shout out to my dear friends at Team Dude Running. I've had some amazing adventures with them over the past couple of years, from park runs to marathons and even some trail half marathons. David Meridew pushes his son Stephen around so many events, and after not getting through this year's ballot, they got a call on Monday offering them a place at London. Awesome. After 17 years of not getting through the ballot, I was delighted when they asked me to be on the team. They are such a great family. I would love if your listeners could look out for us and give us a cheer on the 26th. Keep up the great work, and we love listening to your wise words on the podcast. Best wishes, Sarah Dalmon. Awesome, absolutely. So the friends at Team Dude Running and everyone doing it, we need to keep an eye out for them and cheer them on after finally getting in. That's amazing. Absolutely.
Congratulations, and enjoy that. And anybody that sees them, give them a shout out. Team Dude Running. The next one comes in from Katie. And this is the final one for this week, I am afraid. Dear Paula and Chris, I grew up with Paula as a role model, wow, and I enjoyed watching the London Marathon every year, sometimes going up to see my dad participating as he went past Poplar, near to where my East End family used to live. Even though my dad was a runner and had tried to encourage me to get involved, I didn't start running properly until I was about 33. after moving to France. It was actually a way for me to socialise and meet other people and integrate into the French way of life. I joined a club in Auray, Brittany, near to where I now live, and the old coach at the time said I had some potential. In 2014, I did my first half marathon in 1 hour 37, and I remember saying to my dad the same day after finishing that I would love to go one day sub 130. He told me I was too late. I think I was a little sad that I had not pursued running earlier when my dad had encouraged me to do so. In any case, he fueled my fire and I continued to train and progress. And after making my sub 130 in 2016, I also started marathons and wanted to achieve some other goals. I did my record in the half marathon in 2022 in 1 hour 17, post the birth of my baby in 2021. In 2018, I did my first marathon in Rennes in 2:57, and post the birth of my daughter in April, I did Paris in 2:46. This led to me a qualifying time for the Commonwealths in Birmingham, competing for Mauritius. This was a great experience, although I was still breastfeeding, so it was a little tricky. Since then, in 2023, I did my record in the marathon in 2 hours 41. In 2024, I ran London for the first time at 43 years old in 2 hours 42, having gained a good for age place. I loved it so much. However, I was far back as I do not have a British club place. So it was a little frustrating, although probably helped you out to hold you back from going too quickly in that first little bit. Since then, I've had a bit of a hamstring injury and they found a tumour in my hip. It's not aggressive, so the plan is to just monitor it. I do have some pain though, sitting for long periods of time. And if I do too much in terms of hills, I've undertaken a year of physiotherapy, which has helped me to build up the area around. And now it's a lot better. I got back to marathons after over a year off and did 2 hours 48 in La Rochelle in November of 2025. This is why she's on the honours board, because she has overcome so much. So would have been on it already for all of those achievements beforehand, but battling through those hip problems and living and managing that tumour, I think was great and adequate for putting Katie up there on the honours board. And she says, thank you very much for the advice and your jokes, Thommo, getting her through it. But I think congratulations to her. And our final little question is, do we think she can get back to the low 240s? I think there's
That's
potential
brilliant.
there, isn't there? And certainly huge shout out for what you've overcome.
She's done so well.
Just a big reminder that it's whenever you start, it's never too late, never too late. And if somebody like your dad can give you a bit of fuel for the fire, that can help as well.
What a great one to finish on. That was lovely.
Thank you so much for writing in with that, Katie, and to everyone else as well. A quick reminder, we do drop every Thursday with the Shakeout. Main pod drops on a Monday. You can email in questions to Paula's Run Club at momentumbroadcast.co.uk or on socials to @Paula's Run Club, or indeed to that WhatsApp number +44 7564 747 914. That's all we've got time for this week. Thanks so much again and see you next week.
See you soon, guys.